A few years ago, Mitsubishi introduced the Outlander PHEV and they quickly had a hit on their hands, and that's because it was the only one available at the time without having to go into luxury territory. Now in 2023, they followed it up with a new Outlander PHEV, but this one has more competition from other cars in its class, such as the Hyundai Santa Fe PHEV or the Kia Sorento PHEV. So how does this new car compare against those other ones? Let's go for a drive and find out. At the heart of this second generation Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV is a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder engine. On its own, it produces a little over 130 horsepower, but with the bigger electric motor that it now gets, the total output is 248 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. With this Outlander weighing around 2 tons, the 0 to 100 km/h sprint is around the 7-second mark, which is not too bad for something like this. The electric motors, of course, provide their instant torque as soon as you put your foot down, and then the gasoline engine takes over once it gets into its more sweet spot, so higher in the RPM range. And you can really feel this surge in acceleration when you put the drive mode into power. That's when you get the full beans and the throttle response is a little bit sharper. But of course, this SUV wasn't designed to win drag races or anything like that. It was designed primarily for fuel economy. If the engine is running on its own with a completely depleted battery, then this Outlander PHEV will return 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Not too bad, I think. But if you can continuously plug it in and just drive on electricity alone, then you can average the type of fuel economy that I've been averaging, which is 0.8 liters per 100 kilometers. That's really good. And speaking of driving on electricity, this second generation Outlander has a 20 kilowatt hour battery, which is enough to provide up to 61 kilometers of electric only driving range. That's what Mitsubishi claims. Of course, this range is going to depend on your driving style, whether you use the climate control or not. And speaking of which, I've noticed that when the climate control works really hard, it impacts about 5 kilometers of electric only driving. And it also depends on whether or not you live in a part of the world like how I do, where you have a lot of uphills and downhills. If it's just flat, then you'll probably get a little better than 61 kilometers. And with this Outlander being a plug-in hybrid, it does have different drive modes. By default, it's going to be in the hybrid mode as soon as you start it up. This is just like pretty much every other PHEV or even just traditional hybrid vehicle. The gas engine and the electric motors work in tandem to provide acceleration up to your desired speed. Then there's full EV mode, so you can use all 61 kilometers of the electric driving range. And in this mode, the electric motors are powerful enough to get you off a line without having to impede anybody behind you. Unless, of course, it's a Tesla driver and they always tailgate you. But for normal people, they won't be tailgating you because this accelerates just fine on electricity alone. And the final modes are save and charge. So in save, it just holds the battery charge at whatever it is, and it just runs primarily on the gasoline engine. At slow speeds, like parking lot speeds, it will use the electric motors, but otherwise, it's just the engine. And in charge, it'll use the engine to charge up the battery. But if you use this mode, then obviously your fuel economy is going to take a big hit. Charging the 2023 Outlander PHEV is a little bit more unique than other PHEVs. Not only can it be done from a wall outlet or a level 2 charger like many other plug-in hybrids, but it can also be recharged from a level 3 DC fast charger. From a standard household power outlet, it will take anywhere from 12 to 16 hours to recharge from 0% to 100%. From a level 2 charger, it can take up to 6 hours to recharge, depending on the power supplied by the charger. From a level 3 DC fast charger, it will take approximately 40 minutes to reach 80% from 0%. The Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV still uses a less common CHAdeMO plug for the DC charging. In the United States, this DC fast charging capability is only available on the higher trim levels, which include the SEL and the 40th Anniversary Edition. In Canada, DC fast charging is available on all trim levels. One feature that I like a lot and I find myself using quite often in this Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV is the one-pedal drive mode, although it should actually be called a semi-one-pedal drive mode. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, for the most part it does function like a one-pedal mode, so you just use the accelerator pedal to obviously accelerate, and when you lift off it, then the car slows down by quite a lot. However, for the last 10 kilometers an hour or so, you still need to use the physical brake pedal to bring the car to a complete stop. So that's why it's a semi one-pedal drive mode. It doesn't stop the car just by lifting your foot off the accelerator pedal. You still need to use the brake pedal. The 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV has a compliant ride over most bumps and poorly maintained roads. It's not the most plush ride, but it's not the most firm ride either. However, it's the seats that provide the most comfort, with plenty of support for your back in addition to soft and well-padded cushions. This GT premium trim also comes equipped with a massage function for the front seats. It's not the best, but it does help alleviate some sore back pain on long journeys or stressful commutes. The car also has a relatively quiet cabin. It's no louder than any other comparable crossover SUV when driving on highways, but the engine gets very noisy when accelerating, especially above 2000 RPMs, and it's not a pleasant sound. With Mitsubishi being part of the Nissan-Renault alliance, a lot of the interior in this Outlander PHEV is taken straight out of the Nissan Rogue. So for example, it has the same steering wheel mounted controls, pretty much the same graphics on the driver instrumentation right in front of me. It has the exact same infotainment system and infotainment system controls, and pretty much the same climate controls right below the air vents. However, one of the bigger differences has to do with the center console, which includes this shifter, which feels a little bit more robust than the one in the Nissan Rogue, as does the drive mode selector right underneath it. It just has a much better tactile feel compared to the one in the Nissan Rogue. But of course, the biggest difference has to do with how this interior looks, because I think that it looks a little bit better than the one in the Nissan Rogue, primarily thanks to all of this contrast orange, not only for the leather on the dashboard and on the armrest, but also the contrast stitching on the dashboard as well as on the seats. And who doesn't like quilted patterns on the door panels and also on the seats? It's really nice in here. My only complaint with this interior has to do with, you guessed it, the gloss black plastic that's right here on the center console, all across the climate controls and on the infotainment controls. The ones that are on the infotainment and on the climate, they won't really get scratched up, but fingerprints are easily going to show. However, this one that's on the center console, it probably will get really badly scratched up over time. And finally, in terms of space, up here in the front seats, from my above average height of 6'4", there's more than plenty of it. Plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom, but keep in mind that this seat is in its lowest position. However, I still see very clearly over the front hood, out the side, and even out the back. That is, unless the third row seat headrests aren't up. If they are up, then they do obstruct quite a bit of the back, or I should say the rear visibility. And also, one other thing you should be aware of is that from this position, the car feels pretty wide. I don't know why it feels that way, because the overall width isn't that much wider than the Kia Sorento, but for some reason it just feels quite wide. Again, not sure why it feels that way, but just something for you to be aware of. Anyway, let's go check out the back seats now. The second row of the Outlander PHEV isn't quite as spacious as in some other crossover SUVs, but behind my 6'4" driving position, I fit with an okay amount of space. Yes, my knees are right up against the back of the front seat, but at least the back isn't made out of hard plastic like in some other SUVs. It's soft leather, so I won't have any bruised knees at the end of a trip. However, as you can see, headroom isn't really the greatest, especially with this panoramic sunroof. My head is actually right up against the sunroof mechanism. But thankfully, the seats do recline so that your head is behind the sunroof mechanism and you have more space. Additionally, the second row seats do slide forwards and backwards and they're split 60-40, so you can create a little bit more space for yourself in the second row or make more space for the third row occupants. And in this second row, the outermost seats are heated. There's a separate climate zone as well as a couple of USB ports further below that. And you also get sunshades in this second row as well. And yeah, that's about it for the second row. Now let's go try to sit in that third row. Getting into the third row is pretty straightforward. You just pull on this tab and the seat slides forward. However, the opening isn't really the biggest, so it's a bit of a tight squeeze. However, once you're in, then if this seat moves back and up, you have a pretty decent amount of space back here for your legs. However, again, this seat isn't all the way back and this backrest isn't reclined. If it was all the way back and reclined, then there would be literally no legroom in this third row. However, the bigger problem is headroom. Clearly, there isn't enough of it. You'd have to cut my head off in order for my torso to properly fit back here. But that would be very illegal and you could face a lot of jail time for that. So realistically, this third row is in case of emergencies only and only for very small kids. Yeah. Behind the third row seats, the 2023 Outlander has 332 liters of cargo space. Folding down the third row allows for up to 872 liters of space. That is a bit less than the non-hybrid version, but not by much. With all rows of seats folded, the Outlander PHEV has 1,832 liters of space. Again, a little bit less than the non-hybrid variant. The 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV starts at around $46,500 Canadian for the ES trim. This GT premium trim will cost you around $57,000 Canadian. Here in Vancouver, the Outlander PHEV is eligible for up to $7,000 in rebates. These will differ for your region, of course. Just like many other crossover SUVs on the market, the 2023 Outlander PHEV has a long list of convenience features depending on which trim level you choose. As standard, there's a dual-zone automatic climate control, heated front seats, cloth upholstery, 12.3-inch driver display, an 8-inch infotainment touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, keyless entry, and push-button start, to name a few. Move up to this top-spec GT Premium, and it adds the aforementioned massage function to the front seats, heated seats in the back and a heated steering wheel, quilted leather upholstery, 8-way power driver seat and 4-way power passenger seat, surround view cameras, 10.8-inch head-up display, a larger 9-inch touchscreen with built-in navigation and wireless Apple CarPlay, but still wired Android Auto, and a Bose 9-speaker audio system. And finally, another reason you may want to consider the Outlander PHEV over other plug-in hybrids is the warranty. It's covered by a 5-year 100,000 kilometer new vehicle warranty and a 10-year 160,000 kilometer powertrain, high voltage battery, and PHEV components warranty. In the United States, the new vehicle limited warranty is 5 years or 60,000 miles, and the powertrain and hybrid components warranty is 10 years or 100,000 miles. So, should you consider buying the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV? Well, first and foremost, if you plan on using it as a 3-row SUV, then go for something else, because the third row in this Outlander is laughably small. I don't even know why Mitsubishi bothered to include it in the first place. Go for the Kia Sorento, or even move up a class. Go for the Honda Pilot or the Hyundai Palisade if you really need more room. But if you plan on using this as a 2-row SUV, then I think that it's really, really good. I love what Mitsubishi has done with the interior, obviously with help from Nissan, and the EV powertrain is really nice and smooth. Plus, you do have that 10-year warranty. However, I wouldn't go for this particular spec, the trim level, I should say, the GT Premium. I'd go for the SEL trim, because not only does it come with a lot of features, but for my friends in the United States, you guys still get the DC fast charging capability. So definitely a car worth checking out. And if you'd like to know more about this 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time.